All right. Evening, folks. I think I'm live right now. I'm back. I've got new software that I'm using. I'm still not entirely used to it. I'm hoping that this is working right. I'm waiting for the live stream over on YouTube side to kind of pick up on things. So yeah, I guess the first thing I'm going to say is happy Thursday. And yeah, it's going to be nice to do like an actual full show with actual production value. So I'm going to attempt to run my usual introduction video here, and we're going to get started. Okay, so far so good. That's not bad. Looks like everything's working okay. Looks like my sound's coming through all right, so that's not bad. Let's see if I can bring up the chat here. Let's see here. Let's say hello to a few people. Before we get into this, I do want to give a disclaimer. There is a content warning on this one. I apologize for the offensive title, which is a quote from Doug. It's probably needlessly kind of inflammatory, and who knows how this is going to work in terms of monetization. I really have no idea. But yeah, I will. Basically, the content on this one is going to be pretty tough. So there's a content warning in the disclaimer, or in the description for this video. There is going to be a discussion about essay and things like that. And moving forward a few minutes into the video, most of the words being used to describe essay and things like that are going to be unabridged, uncensored, because most of the participants in this conversation are going to be using the words in an uncensored way. The topic of the video, Tom Rabbit sent me this video. It's a conversation that he was having with a group of people, and Doug was there. And they got into a discussion involving Trump and the E. Carroll case and a few other things. And so that's going to be the whole subject of this. And so I'm going to be playing it and going through it. Doug provides at least 4 majorly, horrifically ignorant points that I'm going to end up highlighting. And so, yeah, you'll see them when we get to them. They're kind of gobsmacking. And special thanks to Tom Rabbit for sending me this, pointing this out to me. I'm going to be sharing this in a different way because it's not featured on his channel. He is tagged in the description, so if you want to go check out his channel, he did just post a recent tribute to Gus Bellinger, who recently passed away. If you're interested, go there. I encourage you to go there and check that out if you're familiar with Gus from the past. He was involved in the Great Debate community on YouTube. But yeah. So that's pretty much it. So that kind of sets up what we're going to be watching here. I don't anticipate that Doug will be making a lot of shorts from the conversation that was had here. So that'll be my job, I think, moving forward. So I'm going to say hello to a few people. Let's see here. Michael Deaton is here. Good to see you. JL Warren. Hello, hello. Second Best Bob is here. Vic Litt is here. I think the stream's going to make me sick. Yeah, again, I apologize in advance. This one is not going to be pleasant. So content warning. I can't emphasize the content warning enough. TK is here. Good to see you. Wraith Knight is here. Darren Delaney. Buying and hiring for temp work are not the same. Nicole Wilson is here. Nitty is here. Pinworm is here. Good to see you all. Bones noticed me, senpai. You are noticed. John Fabiano's here. Good to see you, John. Aaron Reese. Oh, let's see. Maya is here. Doug being Doug. Oh, he's being extra Doug this time. This is extra Doug. Cocos is here. Good to see you. Let's see. Clipper Dots is here. Good to see you. And Haiti Braun is here. Great to see you, Haiti. Haiti is featured in this video. Haiti is one of the people who was having the conversation with Doug in there. Haiti makes some great points. That is not a spoiler. You'll hear some of her comments, and you will hear a lot of her exasperation with Doug in the conversation. Amy is here. This is going to be fun. It's going to be equally fun and equally exasperating. The I hope I'm not overselling this, but I mean, I was surprised at some of the comments I was hearing from Doug in this conversation. And I really couldn't, I still am not entirely sure if he is serious or if he, if he's really as ignorant as he comes across in this, or if he is really just trolling. There's several people in the conversation that just accuse him of trolling. PineCreek, boo. Yeah, well, I think you guys did good talking to him. So here we go. I watched the first 25 minutes straight through, and then I've seen an additional 5-6 minutes after that, but not quite in order. So some of this is probably going to take me by surprise. But there are 4 or 5 major points that I'll be making, and hopefully that this software is going to work for me because I'm going to be sharing this a little bit differently. I've got the video for it, so I'm going to share this on here. It should look kind of different. I'm going to put myself in the. Okay, maybe I'm not going to put myself in the corner like that. That's kind of weird looking. Let's try that again. Okay. This is interesting. You can control the video when you're sharing it from here, which is kind of nice. The only problem with it is that you can't scrub through. If you try to scrub through, it locks up. So I will not be able to go back unless I like cancel it out and reshare it again. So I'll keep this at regular speed. We'll go through this slowly. And yeah, hopefully it should work. Also, I would like to know when I start playing this, it should, I don't know how much customization I have on the volume. Hopefully this is, the sound is good. If it's not, or if it's quite a bit more quiet than me, let me know. I'll adjust I know I can adjust my levels. I'll adjust my level down. That way, if anybody has to crank it up on your device, will be closer to being, my output will be closer to the same as the video. So just let me know in the chat if that's what's going on. So here we go. Let's get started.
Would you have a problem voting for an actual rapist?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why?
Because I don't like rape.
But
Okay.
you're okay with forcible penetration with something other than
With
a
the
penis?
fingers? Yeah. What?
I don't think that happened.
Oh.
Why not?
Because I think E. Jean Carroll is a liar.
Yeah, that's obviously implied when you said you didn't think that happened. So I'll ask again,
Right.
why not?
Because
But why
how
do you
else do I
think
answer that?
No, you didn't
do you
answer that. Why do you think she was a liar? What?
Oh,
how did
okay.
you
Oh,
come
you
to
mean the
this?
motive?
No,
The motive
no,
for
no.
lying.
Why do you think it didn't happen?
Because I think she lied that it did happen.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but like,
But why do
you're a cop, one person says this, one person says that. Presumably you like go through some sort of reasoning process to determine
Yeah.
who
So-
lie, who
so
no
if
lie,
the-
right?
Right. So I think when she was on CNN, E. Jean Carroll, when she was on CNN, she basically said, without saying it directly, like, hey, I'm lying. She said that what the motive was for all this. And there
She said no such thing.
was because of the overturning of Roe v. Wade, because Trump is this big meanie who hates women. And
Told people about it at the time.
That was her motivation for including him in the book. If I remember correctly, she was asked about why she'd written a book. And I think it was the title of the book is something like, what do we need men for, or something, or something like that. And she mentioned some men in her past and in her life that have had a bad influence and a negative impact on her life, and Trump was one of them. Just to give some background on this, in case this isn't all E. Jean Carroll, so we don't have to get into a lot of it is, but we don't have to get into a ton of the details on this. But essentially, the way this thing started, just to give the audience a background on this, you go and look this up, verify what I'm saying here. I could have the timelines wrong, but a quick overview. The basic idea behind this was a law was passed that allowed her to sue. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. He started talking some crap about her, and she pressed a lawsuit against him for defamation. She did not bring any kind of claims initially, a lawsuit against him for any kind of sexual assault. That happened following the passage of an act in New York, something like the Adult Victims of Assault or something like that act, which lifted a kind of statute of limitation on pursuing attackers, at least in civil court. And so she also filed. Then at that point, I think that was in 2020. I can't remember what year that was passed. 2022. 2021, somewhere around there. They then filed a case against him for sexual assault. And that was the one that was adjudicated. The jury found that he was guilty of sexually assaulting her. They also found that he was guilty of defaming her as well. And so rewards were made in both instances. So it was awarded to her. So that's just generally what's going on here. The way Doug's talking about this, I just don't believe her. Okay, he doesn't believe her. It's interesting to me when someone talks about this, like Doug is talking about it, because he's just like, well, if I had to have to compare the two people that are involved in this, Trump says it didn't happen. She says it did. I've seen her on CNN, and it sounds to me like she's admitted that she's lying about this, and she was motivated by the fact that she doesn't like his politics, or she's motivated by the fact that she thinks that he's got bad policies or something like that. So I'm inclined to think that she's making this up or exaggerating or something like this. Okay. Before we get too far into this, I just want to point out something, an observation that came to my mind when I first saw this video after Tom shared it with me. Doug is treating the situation as if it is a he said, she said situation between one man and one woman, and not an adjudicated civil case where the jury found against Trump. They sat through that case. Evidence was presented to them, testimony and other evidence was presented to them, and they found him guilty of sexual assault and defamation against E. Jean Carroll. Well, not guilty, but liable is the technical term in a civil proceeding. And so Doug just wants to play this off as you just look at it and evaluate this from the position of it's he said, she said. No, it isn't he said, she said thing. And the reason that I want to point that out is because he's going to make a claim in a few minutes that is going to kind of contradict the way he's approaching the situation here. Nicola H says, so if Carroll lied, does Doug think Trump didn't lie in all the instances where he has bragged about sex crimes? It's a good question. I think somebody brings that up, so we'll see if he addresses it. Good to see you, Richard. Let's see here. All right.
Time. Did she know he was going to become president and overturn Roe v. Wade?
No, I'm saying at the time it never.
Do you know she told people about it at the time?
What time?
When it happened, she told people at the time.
That question's
of the
nonsensical
alleged
if it did.
incident. No, it's not nonsensical. She told people, hey, this thing happened to me. Donald Trump assaulted me. I believe she told like a mother and maybe a friend. That's what I'm saying. Did you know that? Oh, you think she's lying about that too?
No. Yeah, I think she's lying about that too.
So and also the witness.
So okay, so it was brought up in the case that after this encounter happened between her and Trump I'm not going to even say alleged. It's been adjudicated that this happened. The jury found him liable for this. So they were in a Bergdorf Goodman, and this happened in the 90s, I think. Early 90s, late 80s, somewhere around there. I'm blanking on the time period, but she did go to at least two friends and tell them about it, or a friend and her mother. But there were two women that were told after that. I don't believe she went to law enforcement of any kind. So, but Doug is not saying, I don't believe that she did that either. I don't know why he has a problem with that. But
witnesses who said, yeah, she told me about it, they're also lying?
Yes, there's only two of them, and I think they're in on it.
Oh, they're both lying. Interesting.
Yep.
But
why do you think the court ruled in her favor?
Because they hate Trump.
Oh, the court just hates Trump.
No, these
Okay.
E. Jean Carroll does,
Trump.
and the two women.
Yeah, but that's just going to be a
Yeah,
wash, right? Because Trump hates being a rapist, right?
Oh, I'm assuming so.
Right. So to wash then, right?
Jason, good to see you, Jason Torrin. Long time no. I don't think I've talked with you in a long time. This is a clip from you guys' room, I think from maybe over last weekend or earlier this week. Tom Rabbit emailed me about this, and he dropped this one on me. He thought I would be interested in it, and I was. I gave it a listen. I was like, yeah, I'll be covering this one. So, yeah, this is from you guys' room.
Oh, it's a he said versus 3 she saids.
Right. Well,
That
clearly you should
happened.
believe the
That
man, right?
happened
I
where
mean,
we
it's
don't
not
even
just that. There's more evidence. One
we don't
thing
even
is
know
that there
that
was. I mean, there was
we
the
don't even know
dress
the
that
date
she.
when it happened.
That's
Like
fine, but
any
there was a dress.
No, I think they do kind of have an idea of when the date of it happened.
There was the dress she kept that, so she supposedly wore that day, and it had 5 DNA samples. Some of them were identified as hers and like her husband's or something. But then they asked Trump to provide a DNA sample, and he refused.
Okay, if Trump's
That's like,
DNA was found on that dress, I'd change my mind in a heartbeat.
yeah, I'm saying that.
I don't think there was any kind of. I don't think there was any kind of semen that was actually there. They kind of ran out the clock on the entire thing, and then the judge essentially put an end to it. They weren't even going to go after it anymore. So
That he refused to provide DNA evidence that would expiate him.
Okay,
What
but
do
that
you
still
think
doesn't
his
make him guilty.
motivation was? What do you think his motivation for that was? I mean, if he didn't do it, this would be the perfect way to exonerate himself, wouldn't it?
Well, you would think,
What is it
but
people like Doug say?
Yeah,
You
you
wouldn't
would
be
think.
afraid of the police if you weren't guilty, or some
Yeah,
shit
you
like
would think. So why do you think he refused?
Dude, you
Is
know
he
what? I
probably-
gotta be honest. If I were Trump, like all they need is like a piece of your DNA, and if you didn't do it, you're fucked.
What do you mean? If you didn't do it, your DNA wouldn't be on the dress.
No. If they had some of his DNA, right?
Yeah.
Then they could just say that then it's there, and then hey, let's see if this is Trump's. Trump takes a DNA test. Oh my god, it matches. Blah blah blah. I mean,
What
like,
are you saying? Are you saying they would just concoct the DNA to match Trump's or something?
I don't think it would
They had-
it'd be. Look, people are meeting him and stuff. These people that literally.
I think Tom and Haiti are kind of talking past each other on this one.
Have been in physical
Yeah.
contact with
I
him.
don't
It's
know
not
what
hard
he's
to get.
saying.
He does
Look,
book
he
signings. You
said
can
he
shake.
never met
You can go
her.
to any. You can go to any rally and shake his fucking hand. You can get his fucking
He
DNA.
said he never met her.
Yeah, but then it was adjudicated in the case that wasn't true. That there's a photograph of them meeting. They did meet. So I think he had to change his claim to, I don't know her, which is slightly different. But they did meet. There's a photo of him meeting her, and I can't remember who the guy's name, John Jackson or something like. He was a I think a TV personality.
well,
If that's true, then providing DNA would have exonerated him.
Well, we know they did meet. And that was
Yeah,
Yeah.
he lied about
another-
that, which is another reason why, points to the
Like
fact
Trump-
that he was guilty.
Trump has been a famous guy his whole life, right? So he's intermingling with literally thousands of people in the course of a
Why
month.
do you think he said he
And-
never remembered then?
This is a lot of apologetics. This is the same kind of defense that Trump himself offered. I'm a famous guy. I go to a lot of these social functions. I meet lots and lots of people. How could I possibly be expected to remember all of them, et cetera, et cetera?
Because
He could have said,
this
"Yeah, I
gets-
met her."
This carried no weight with a jury of 12 people.
He
This
said,
is
"I
like-
made out with her," right?
Why
Could've
did
said
he
that.
say? Why did he say he never met her then?
So, for example, what the phrase "met" could mean in Trump's
Listen to this
mind.
bullshit.
Okay, John.
So,
That
if
was
you're
funny.
if you're a famous person and you're just walking through a crowd and shaking hands or whatever, and you let's say Trump actually even shook Carroll's hand or stopped for a selfie or whatever, he could still view that as not meeting a person because he meets so many people, like in that he could have a deeper meaning to meet.
So
I still
clearly he's
think.
not talking about that.
I mean,
So
it's
what
Did he
actually,
say he never met her?
Do you understand what I'm saying? Can you steel man
do.
my position?
I
Doug's position is to imagine to try to imagine that Trump means something different about meat than a normal, one of us normal lower beings. That's sort of what he's trying to say. Like, oh, well, he has a different standard of what he means when he says he met someone, and so by his standard, he didn't actually meet. Thank you very much for that link, Pragmatic Crystal. Good to see you. Welcome to the show. Tom loves PineCreek.
Okay, what am I saying?
So he's saying,
why would he say he never met her?
I might have briefly
you
shaken
still
her
don't get it.
hand in a lineup or something,
Yeah,
but I never
got that.
met her. I was never introduced to her. I don't have a recall ever like having any kind of interaction with her. That's what he said.
John Johnson, yeah, Carol's husband was pretty famous in his
another
own right.
thing that's kind of funny about him saying this is that she then provided a photo of
Doug spent so much time in the position that it's part of his identity. Now he has his own cognitive dissonance working here, here to justify his support. Yeah, exactly. Good to see you, Nitty. He's literally a Christian butt for Trump. Yeah, kind of.
Trump, his wife at the time, and then her and her husband meeting. And Trump said, I mean, come on, I know a lot of people, and in this picture, my back is turned towards her. And actually, his back was turned towards his wife. Like, he took her when she was, standing in front of to be his wife.
Some dead air
How
here.
would you ever think he could rape someone if you don't think witness testimony is sufficient? Because they all hate Trump. So under what circumstances would you think he was a rapist?
Is that a question?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to keep track of the questions here.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. You got an answer? Because, I mean,
well,
I could put in a statement if you'd prefer.
I don't know who the one guy is. I think he frequently will just start calling Doug a boomer here pretty soon. But his tone, he has like a negative amount of respect for Doug. I'm not sure who it is. Haiti, if you know who that is, but who I'm talking to, I'm not sure what their username is. But and I think I've spoken with them on Discord and back in Clubhouse, but I can't think of their name.
I don't think, given what you said, you would ever find Trump guilty of rape, because in every case you could say, well, the jury hates him, the judge hates him, the woman hates him. Why would you ever believe a victim?
If he did say that, he gave a condition that if Trump's DNA was on that dress.
Right, but you would also defend his choice not to provide that DNA, so that's not going to happen, right? It's not like you're saying, well, if he refuses to provide the DNA, that's some kind of point against him. So you're given an impossible condition.
No.
Yeah, but I'm 1,000% sure that PineCreek is the type of guy that would say if he was innocent, then he should give the DNA. That's just like a PineCreek boomer right wing fucking talking.
Well, it's clearly.
If you fucking deny that, I'm gonna fucking call you a bullshitter.
It's obviously he's shitting. This is obviously just trolling again. Nobody in their right mind, and I'm just going to grant that you're in your right mind, it's assumption, would think that the accuser and the two witnesses are lying and not Donald Trump. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and again, I mean, everybody it's being implied by, I think, everyone speaking to Doug here, that what Doug is I mean, that this is adjudicated, right? This has already been done in a civil case. It's just nobody's actually stated it to him, like, told him this like he's a 5-year-old. Like, you are treating this like a he said, she said between a guy and a man and a woman, when this has been adjudicated in a civil trial and the jury found in favor of the woman. So it's not just like, oh, I have to pick which one I believe, the guy or the girl. No, you have to throw out everything that happened in this adjudicated case. Like the entire jury, like their decision on this, they're all wrong.
Why did Trump not lose the criminal case then?
There was no criminal case.
There wasn't?
There was a statute of limitations thing.
That's why there was only
There was no criminal
a civil
case.
case.
Yeah, there was only the civil
Why
case.
wasn't it done before the statute of limitations?
I guess she didn't want to pursue it.
Why didn't she want to pursue it?
I don't know. Probably because at that time, didn't think cops would take it seriously.
So Haiti, to answer your question,
if you go to the police with a rape accusation, a lot of times they're going to say, well, there's not enough evidence to prosecute.
Not enough evidence to prosecute, right?
That's right.
Not enough evidence to prosecute is the reason not to go to the police.
Yeah, a lot of women don't report their rapes. You know that, right? For various reasons.
I understand.
So if there's
but if there's not enough evidence to prosecute, then you don't assume someone raped you.
You don't.
Incorrect. Did you hear that? If there's not enough evidence to prosecute, you don't assume someone raped you. What in the hell kind of crazy ass concept is that? That's like knowing, like, I know that things are missing from my house, and I know they didn't get up and walk away. I think it's safe to assume that someone came into my place and took some of my things. But because I don't know who did it, and I don't have any evidence of who did it, right? The conclusion you reach is that I can't press charges against anyone because I don't know who did it. I don't have evidence that indicates a person to blame for stealing my stuff. You do not reach the conclusion, I wasn't robbed, because I don't have evidence that points to the person that took my stuff. And in the case of this, like, oh, well, you don't have enough evidence to actually substantiate an accusation of rape. Therefore, you shouldn't assume that that's what happened to you. What? What is that? When I that was the first one I heard, and I sent something to Tom Rabbit, and I was like, the fuck is up with him? What is this? Haiti says, wow, I missed that the first time. Yeah, it would be easy to miss. I played it back to myself. Like, I'm like, did he just say what I think he just said? Like, what kind of epistemology is he attempting to use? You wouldn't even use that as a legal standard. Right? Like the way that he's putting that. If you can't prove it, then it didn't happen to you. No one in law enforcement would say that. No, it could have happened to you. You just can't prove that it did, and you can't press charges without, or you can press charges, but we're not going to be able to do anything and press a case if there's no evidence supporting those accusations. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. That does not follow at all. Just that is a mind-bogglingly weird thing to say. The courtroom of Doug's mind. A place where justice isn't only biased, it follows his mercurial worldview. Yeah. You didn't get it on camera? Guess it didn't happen. Yeah, exactly. Then it didn't happen that way. That is just a bizarre way of thinking about it. Now, and I could try to say, like, look, let's be charitable. When people are talking in live conversations, people can make contradictory statements. Sure. That statement is genuinely gobsmackingly stupid. So maybe he meant to say something completely different, but a plain understanding of what he just said there is completely useless. That is an irrelevant thing to say. Oh, you can't substantiate legally what happened to you? Then it didn't happen to you. No, that's not how anything works.
Assume they don't either.
You
Given
don't.
the fact that it's a crime committed in. Given
No,
the
no,
fact
no.
that it's
That's wrong,
given the,
Haiti.
hello, I'm speaking. I'm still talking. Given the fact that it's a crime committed in private, right? There are no witnesses. And as you said, it's he said, she said. So often, let's say there's no signs of a struggle on you, you're not covered in bruises, and there's no witnesses, then there's not going to be enough evidence. That doesn't mean the rape didn't happen either.
True. That's true. But is your
Okay.
assumption if a woman says, I was raped by a man,
Here comes the SE again.
Here comes the SE again. Haiti's already like, uh-oh, here come the questions.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a rape lawsuit. The story is that she put it in her book that Trump raped her, and he purposely denied those accusations, and she sued him for defamation after being advised to by a lawyer.
Well, it was more than him just denying it. He was saying that she was doing it maliciously. He accused her of defaming and libeling him. And she's like, no, you did this.
Yeah, that's right. But
Okay,
getting
so
back,
she never sued for rape in the first place.
Yeah, I
Getting
don't know if she went to the police or not, to be honest, but she probably didn't, because a lot of times women just think, oh, that was a shitty thing that happened to me, and then they get on with their lives.
but Haiti, you said something earlier that I think is categorically wrong, and that is if a woman accused.
Doug used to hate that. He used to hate it when people would accuse others of being categorically wrong about something. So he's bringing out the big guns, and he thinks Haley is categorically wrong about something. Let's be careful with this one. So what is she categorically wrong about?
Is a man of rape. The default position is that the man is innocent till proven guilty in the United States of America.
Legally, yeah.
Correct?
I don't think I said that exactly, but in terms of...
You assume that the accused is innocent until proven guilty. What you do not do with that assumption is imply that the accuser must be lying, which I think is where Doug might be going with this.
What percentage of rapes get prosecuted? It's quite small. I think it's 2% result in convictions.
Right, but is what I said true? If a man is accused of raping a woman, he is presumed innocent until found guilty. Do you agree with that?
Everyone's presumed
legally
innocent.
Yeah, that
okay.
But that's
just
making
like
sure.
that's not special. I think I think this is Sasha is going to make this. Maybe it's not violence or that's not exact. I mean, that's a legal position, for pragmatic purposes. That position is one the state assumes when treating with accusations against a citizen, if they're going to press charges against a citizen.
That's just like a legal thing, right? It's a
Just
pragmatic
legal
thing.
What he's doing is he's
It's-
going to
it's
try
a-
to appeal to some social thing, right? This is a bait
No,
and
but
switch.
look,
Bait and switch.
it's a pragmatic principle, because it's thought that it's much worse to sentence an innocent man than to let a guilty man go. And that's why we have.
Yeah, the idea is to hold the state to a higher standard. If they're going to bring this accusation, they better be able to. They need to be able to substantiate it, and if they're going to prosecution of a citizen should require this. The mental position should be that we're treating the accused as innocent until proven guilty, because the emphasis is placed on the state the burden of proof is on the state to prove that a person did something criminal. The burden of proof is not flipped onto the person to prove that they were innocent. That's the pragmatic and philosophical principle for the law. But I think Doug is trying to say, well, this is how we're just supposed to approach this kind of stuff. If a woman comes out and says in common English, well, this person assaulted me sexually assaulted me while we were in a department store together. As a private citizen, I can reach my own conclusions about that. I'm not pursuing a legal case against them. So And a lot of people will jump to that conclusion. Like Doug has reached the conclusion that E. Jean Carroll is lying. That was one of the reasons why the philosophy picked up like we should believe all women. That's not to say that there aren't women that don't make false accusations. The idea was pragmatically to approach these situations seriously and take seriously accusations of sexual assault from all women when they occur. Treat them seriously and go from there. You can do that and also suspend in your head that the person accused is innocent until proven guilty. You can do both. If you can't, then, well, I don't know what to say after that. You don't look like the Jefferson Spatchcock that your mom birthed. How do we know that you really are? Example of level of pine nuts arguments. I mean, yeah. If one should presume Trump was innocent, not merely as a matter of jurisprudence, then why doesn't Doug accept that Trump is? Let's see. Why did that cut off? Why doesn't Doug accept that Trump is liable for sexual abuse? Because that was what was found in court. Yeah, I don't understand that either. Like, and that's sort of what I'm getting hung up on. From the very jump, Doug is presuming that this discussion can be had, just excusing it as a he said, she said thing when it's already been adjudicated into civil court, and they found it against him. He was found to be civilly liable for defaming her and for assaulting her. So as far as I'm concerned, that the issue is done unless he can appeal it effectively. It's up to him and his legal team to then appeal that. You know, Doug's just doing this apologetic work on Trump's behalf and saying, oh, no, I just think that she lied. She just made it all up. Okay, cool. So it's what are you going to do, Doug? I guess justice was denied because he wasn't one of the 12 on that jury. I'm not sure what this meant. Given no actual evidence because I was never there, should I assume the opposite, that if someone is accused that they should be thought of as guilty? No, that's not the point.
It's not for, deciding whether we actually think somebody is or isn't a rapist or any other type of criminal.
Greek uses the word categorical the way people. Did I use the word categorical?
Because that's what you were aiming to do, right, PineCreek? You were just going to say people think that he's fucking guilty. This is why you're a boomer.
Who said categorical? I'm just saying that's not how.
I think PineCreek said.
Yeah, but what are you saying that
categorically wrong?
Yeah. So why should we continue to assume innocence? Exactly. Why? And that's the thing that doesn't make any sense to me. Doug's justification for assuming Trump's innocence is that he simply thinks that she's a liar. But this has been adjudicated beyond the point where you have to evaluate this as just a he said, she said kind of situation. You have an entire civil case that went through. A jury was presented with evidence from the defense and from the plaintiff's side. And they ruled in favor of E. Jean Carroll. They found him liable for defamation and assault. So what is his justification for? He's not simply saying, "Oh, well, you have to pick which one you're most likely to believe." And he would do this, like lean Trump, lean E. Jean Carroll. No, you don't have to do that, because on E. Jean, like, okay, let's say that you do that. You're not doing those in isolation. On E. Jean Carroll's side is an entire case that was decided in her favor. Even to the point where when Trump's defense team decided that what they wanted to do was try to lower the damage amount monetarily, they wanted to argue that because the New York Penal Code has a very specifically nuanced legal definition of rape that involves assault with the man's genitalia, and penetration of the victim with the offender's penis. Because that didn't happen, it's a different level, it's a different code, it's a different crime. And they tried to argue that, because it's not rape, then he shouldn't have to pay the full amount. He should have a reduced amount. And Judge Kaplan said, the evidence that was presented to the jury and the common definition of what we're talking about, despite the fact that New York has this oddly nuanced definition of it, in common parlance, she was raped. and rejected that argument. So for any of the right wingers that are trying to say, well, technically, it wasn't actually, no, it was.
Oh, yeah, maybe I did say that. Okay.
Okay, but
Hey, what's up, Taco?
Look, do you understand the point that like this isn't a principle for deciding whether somebody actually has done something or not? It's not like an epistemic principle.
It's a legal principle.
It's a legal principle.
And then let's say you wanna like bet.
Most importantly, it's a legal principle that applies to the state's treatment of its citizens. That needs to be kept into. I mean, it's a good mental exercise for individuals to take on, but the emphasis for it is the state assuming that when they're dealing with their own citizens.
With God, whether something happened or not, right? That's not like a good principle to go by.
All I'm saying is you need evidence in order to show that someone's guilty. That's reasonable, right?
That's not what you're saying.
Yeah, I am.
I mean, you're changing it, right?
No.
Like the innocent till proven guilty is a legal principle, and I explained why we have it. And it's not a principle for deciding whether something actually happened.
Right. What is whether something actually happened? It's evidence.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And no evidence was provided before the statute of limitations. Criminally, no evidence was provided before the statute of limitations expired that Trump actually did it. Is that true or false? What I just said.
Why?
Is that true or false? True. Thank you.
I just said it's true. Yeah, but why does it matter that it wasn't provided before the statute of limitations?
Was it provided after?
Yes.
Yes.
In a civil case.
Yeah, well, her testimony and the testimony of the two people that she told.
And the photos indicating that they knew each other. They met each other.
Okay.
No, there's more that was relevant to the court case. There was a testimony from two other women who claimed that Trump sexually assaulted them. Or generally, outside of that specific court case, you should update on the fact that.
Yeah, Doug is just dismissing the fact. Like anytime somebody's trying to say, "Oh yeah, well this stuff was introduced during the case," oh yeah, whatever. Like he just wants to dismiss the fact that an entire case was decided against Trump on this, and just reduce it to, "Oh, it's just people that got an axe to grind against Trump."
Trump more generally, has a reputation for being a sex pest, right? Like being friends with Epstein. There's like testimony of him raping a 14-year-old. He says shit like, "Oh, I will just go into the locker rooms of teenage girls and watch them change." So generally, on that evidence, you should also update.
I think something weird is coming up here. If Doug's position is all about strength and success, why does Doug feel the need to defend Trump? Does Trump not meet Doug's standard for strong and successful? I mean, not anymore. I mean, remember in the last video that I did in that live stream, he opened up with the fact he acknowledged that Trump did terrible, and he cannot be fixed. Either he can't be fixed or his campaign at this point cannot be fixed. So he's acknowledging that there's some real weakness there.
You should also update when a person's famous and rich that do they need to rape women?
What?
Like they can buy women.
It's a power thing.
With the 14-year-old.
Yeah, why do you have people rape?
Come on, Doug. I mean,
like Bill Cosby was.
So the ridicule begins from the group. Like he's just said this, like, well, wait, they're rich. Why do they need to do this? Why do they need to perpetrate this crime? I'm not going to comment on everything that's implicitly wrong with what Doug's doing here, because I'm going to let this play through. Tom starts asking, they're going to go back and forth on this a little bit. Tom will start asking Doug a series of questions to get to the heart of this. And I want to play at least through that part.
Rich and famous.
It's just getting really
the women
stupid.
they bought are often sex trafficked and minors, so they're still raping them, even if they have, according to you, bought them, which is a really gross way of putting it, by the way.
Well, I'm just
most rape is about power. It's not about like.
It's
Lack
just
of
for,
sex.
it's also
They,
like
they
how
wouldn't,
they.
they wouldn't rape because they can. Come on, Doug. Dude,
I mean,
make
that's
that
a-
a YouTube
that's a
short,
lot-
man.
Make that a YouTube short, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna take it back. I don't know if he wouldn't. I don't think he would, but I have underestimated Doug's lack of self-awareness before. So we'll see.
And make
I
that a
was
short.
just
I'm
gonna
begging
say,
you.
I
I'm
hope this
begging
is a
you,
YouTube
please.
short.
Yeah,
Does
yeah.
No, but Tom,
Doug
think
saying
about it.
rich
Why,
men don't need to be
Tom,
rapists. So,
Tom,
do you not?
if a
What was
person
that
wants,
guy?
I like it when Doug starts doing this. Hattie's clearly talking, and Doug is trying to like derail her by just repeating Tom's name because he's going to start asking Tom questions about this. I haven't seen a lot. I haven't heard a lot of these conversations recently. I don't know how often they talk with him, but back a few months ago when these were happening semi-regularly, there were a few that I would jump into, and unfortunately, I was usually a little tipsy. But this seemed to be a common thing. Haiti would get, I think, Haiti would get under Doug's skin, and Doug's passive-aggressive way to try to get back at her was to kind of gaslight her, or just to kind of ghost her right in the conversation. So Doug is a semi-pro right-wing troll. I mean, he is at this point. He's got the followers for it, the subscribers. Did you hear the appalled pause after he said it? Yeah, I mean, it was sort of there was just sort of this collective. Did he just say what we all heard? Good to see you, Tom Rabbit. By the way, thank you again for this video, and also I didn't realize it until I talked to my brother. Special thanks for making that tribute to Gus. That was a great video. Thank you for that. There may be British yelling.
The guy who went to jail, the producer.
Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, he was pretty rich. Do you think he's not a rapist? Because he's in jail right now. Maybe they just didn't like him either. Maybe they were lying.
Too rich to rape.
Too rich to rape.
I haven't investigated that, but it brings up.
You just don't know anything about it.
It brings up an interesting point.
No, wait a minute. I just want to clarify. You don't know anything about the Harvey Weinstein case.
I didn't say I don't know anything.
Nicola, someone should get Doug to apply his own reasoning to Weinstein, Cosby, Spacey, and Epstein. At this point, Haiti does try to get him to do that a little bit, at least with Weinstein. And I think they do try with Epstein a little bit. But yeah, it'll get moved back to focus on Trump. Well, actually, it'll get focused on the statement that Doug made, where rich people don't have to do this because they can just buy, pay for sex, buy people, whatever.
But I don't know enough.
Do you know that he's in jail?
How about
for
like
rape?
Mike Tyson?
You know that?
Mike Tyson?
Yes, I know he's in
rich.
jail. I know he's in
rape.
jail.
For rape.
And I also know that
only everything, Brian. Just go back to the beginning. Watch it 2 times speed. I haven't sped up the video that I'm playing because actually I don't know how with the controls that this thing is playing through. So still learning this one.
I think it's been appealed. And I'm not sure where the appeals process is, where it's at. Am I wrong about that? Someone can fact check that.
Conceptual point.
He appealed. I think he did make an appeal, but it's been appealed. My understanding is that his appeals have been on procedural issues. Doug is going to try to get into something really goofy here pretty quick.
Is you think that rich people don't rape? You agree, right?
No, I did not say that. But thank you for the question, though.
Then why would you appeal? Why would you appeal to him being too rich to rape?
Why would a rich person need to rape someone? They can just buy them. That's what he said.
Do you think Epstein raped anyone?
So, Eileen, yes, but
he's rich.
Yes,
he's really rich.
Oh, can we get a short on?
He leans. Yeah,
Eileen. Yeah.
Wait,
yes,
a short with your music that would be fucking great.
Well, okay, but what are you guys gonna say if like 5 years from now he's exonerated? I mean,
Jeffrey Epstein.
yeah, no, not
Fall
Epstein.
off my chair.
The other guy.
You think Weinstein's going to get exonerated?
Because here's why. Because
why? I mean, one of his charges might get. He's not going to be exonerated in the sense that term means, where they reverse all of his charges. He might have a charge or two overturned on some procedural thing, but he ain't going to be exonerated because he did some of that stuff. He did a lot of that stuff.
It's being appealed because it's one of those things. It's quid pro quo. So if a woman,
no, that's not what he went to jail for. He didn't go to jail for quid pro quo. He went to jail for rape.
I know, but
rape. That wasn't a quid pro quo.
Yeah, this is interesting from Doug.
Do you?
In the appeals
about the case.
In the appeals process, if let's say an 18-year-old goes up to Harvey Weinstein, and Harvey just comes out and says, "If you want this part,"
that wasn't the allegation that he was jailed for. Why do you keep saying that? He didn't get sent to jail for quid pro quo. He didn't get sent to jail.
I know he got.
If you give me a blowjob, I'll give you a part. Right? That was not the crime he was convicted of. So why are you talking about it?
But if it's being appealed, and this is his argument, and if he has evidence to show this, then it will be overturned. That's my point.
No. If you have a situation, let's say that what Doug is talking about is even remotely true. You had a situation in which an individual does what he's saying, where it's like, okay, here's what's going to happen. If you want this, then I'm going to have sex with you. All right. That is a form of sexual assault right there in and of itself. Right. And I think what he's trying to say, well, if the actor agrees to this, then he's off the hook. I don't think that's the case. 2, there are cases where the person has perpetrated this, right? They were the aggressor, like Weinstein, went after the actor, assaulted them. And then after, like, well, you know what? I think you've got a brilliant future. You're starring opposite Brad Pitt. You're going to be introduced in the next film as a way to kind of smooth that over. Now, if they accept that role, does that mean the sexual assault didn't happen? It still happened, and they're still culpable. So the point that Doug's trying to make here is not a strong one. In either one of those cases, that person is still on the hook. They're in trouble, that they have committed a crime. This idea that he's trying to present this like, well, what if it's just an agreement? How about that? Yeah, that's still awful. Jay says, rich people don't need to rape a person. They can pay to rape a person as long as the person agrees to be raped for the right price. Yeah, it's all transactional. So, yeah.
Holy
so
shit.
what you have to show is that he said, have sex with me, and the woman said no, and he said, well, I'm going to have sex with you anyhow. Then of course that's rape. But if he said, but now it gets to the argument, well,
That's a good point, Haiti. Suddenly he knows about the case. Here comes the yelling.
a big and powerful man, and so does the woman really have the free will to say no? Like, those are the types of arguments that people make. He's in a position of power and intimidation and all these things. It's a fuzzy area.
Okay, well, let me just read you.
I feel like we both Weinstein right now.
Okay.
I think it's interesting that he kind of fuzzed that up. He's like, oh, but then you can get into the situation where the person has a lot of power and influence. Exactly. So if they're trying to like brush over the thing by offering the person a role after they've committed the assault, they're still culpable for the assault. They're just trying to cover it up. They're essentially trying to offer this person a bribe so that they don't press charges against them. If they do it in advance, like, I'm taking advantage of you in exchange, you take this role. Or they're making it out to be a quid pro quo. Like, here's the thing. You get this role if you let me do what I want. Well, what's being offered there? There's the opposite of that. You don't get this if I don't get what I want. And then they go forward with it. Both of these are bad. So I'm not exactly sure why he brought in. He's like, oh, well, then you got to get into this fuzzy area about his influence and his power. That's not really that fuzzy an area. You've got Weinstein, who's wealthy as wealthy as a mortal human being can be, just about, and then actors that he can take advantage of. I think that's pretty cut and dry.
On the Trump thing and the evidence.
He was found guilty of rape in the 3rd degree, sentenced 23 years. That conviction was overturned on appeal because of procedural errors. New trial was allowed. He was sentenced to 16 more years after being convicted of 1 count of rape, 2 counts of sexual assault, which he also appealed. On July 9th, prosecutors informed the judge they intended to bring more rape charges against him.
Okay, so
and then
so
there's a
far it
retrial
sounds like
coming.
so far it sounds like everything's still in the appeal process.
He's been convicted on 3 counts.
I don't think it's everything. I think there's only one of them that's being appealed. I don't know that they're actually able to appeal everything.
3 different women.
But
Yeah, he's already
And
convicted.
80
we should ask
women.
something
80 women
post-verdict, right?
accused him of rape, sexual assault, and sexual abuse. But yeah, he's probably innocent. You're right, Doug.
You know
Probably.
what?
No, he's already
He is
guilty.
rich after all.
he's rich.
He's
He didn't
already
need to-
guilty. Convicted. Guilty.
Yeah, I don't know why you keep saying appeal.
You know, maybe we can ask another question.
Okay, this is
Because-
good.
Okay, so Doug,
Here we go.
you think
What
rape-
questions? That's SE.
Not
Yeah,
always.
whatever.
Great.
Sorry.
So you
Good one.
you think that rapes do occur, right? Obviously.
Oh,
Now,
shit.
so in the cases where rapes do occur and the person is not rich, what do you think is the explanation for that?
Horniness.
Okay, do you notice how you didn't mention anything about money?
Right, because you said they were poor.
He didn't say they were poor.
He
Or
didn't say
people
poor.
get
He said
horny?
not rich.
Okay, so okay. So Tom is getting to the heart of this, and that was a very good question to ask him. He's like, okay, you mentioned this before that the rich don't need to do this because they have. What about in situations where they did? You know, you have somebody who's middle class or somebody who's not wealthy. It's interesting that Doug's mind is like, oh, they're poor. Okay, so I guess there's no such thing as a middle class suspended in Doug's imagination. You're either wealthy or you're just, the great unwashed. But okay, we'll cut him a little bit of slack there and say this. He believes that lust is the motivator for sexual assault. When if you look this up, and there's been debates about this quite a bit over time. Sociologists have debated it. It was debated in law enforcement. That is not what motivates people to commit those assaults. That is a very ignorant, old-fashioned idea about the guy just gets so pent up with lust that he has to find a victim because he doesn't have an outlet. No, that doesn't work, because there's too many examples of people of individuals who were perpetrating these crimes and did have a sex life, but they weren't getting this. It's been equated psychologically, sexual assault, to torture, and the desire for that is more of a power kind of thing. It's a different motivation than just getting your rocks off. Doug doesn't seem to think that it is. So he's thinking, well, wealthy people wouldn't need to do this because if they've got some pent up lust, they can get an expensive escort. But that's not what they're looking for. I think Tom just stumbled upon something deep in Doug's subconscious. Doug thinks there is only rich and poor. That's another thing kind of subtly there that he kind of jumped into, where it's like, oh, okay, well, they're poor then. They're not rich, so they're poor. No, they're just not really wealthy. They could be middle class. Oh, right. That's a thing, I guess. Yeah, that's a little interesting. Okay.
Didn't say poor, said not rich.
So
Okay, not
financially
rich.
stable.
Jesus.
Yeah. How much money do they have, Tom?
They're comfortable middle class.
Okay.
What difference is the question?
Maybe even upper middle class. Yeah. So what do you mean? What's the question? The question
Jesus
is,
Christ.
in these situations where
What was
people in
motivating
that
them?
financial bracket rape, what is the explanation for when they rape?
Horniness.
Okay, so you understand why that's a funny answer, because you said in the case of where you said that rich people don't rape because they can just buy it, right?
I didn't say that. I said it's less likely.
It's less likely. Well, I don't know that is the case. When did this convo happen? I'm not exactly sure what day it happened. I got the link for it yesterday or the day before. I think it was just early yesterday. Tom sent it to me. So I think it happened earlier this week or maybe over the weekend.
Well, if I didn't say it, that's what I meant. So in other words, so let's say a guy's really horny but can't afford a prostitute. I actually think.
Oh my God! It's an economic decision.
What else? What else do I got here? I guess we're doing rape.
Yeah. Oh, that's my next.
So if a person is very, very wealthy and wants to have sex, and there's nobody around, he can pick up the phone and order it. Why would you risk? Why would you risk going to jail?
I don't know. Why did Bill Cosby rape 50 women? Or maybe you think he's too rich to be rapist.
Okay, and this is why I said earlier about a bit of mental illness. Is what I'm saying unreasonable that people think this way?
Yeah.
It's gross, actually.
Okay, let me.
Yeah, because that's not because it's not really a motivator. Like, if it was grounded in some kind of fact that sexual assault is being motivated by pent-up lust in these individuals, then he would be on the right track. But that hasn't been understood as being the primary motivator for sexual assaulters for a very long time now. Even if you look at like Department of Justice or federal law enforcement, when they talk about this, like, what, you look this up, what's the motivation for these kinds of crimes? Not lust. That's a myth that Doug still believes. Hades, they don't want to have consensual sex, they want to have non-consensual sex. Yeah, that's sort of the point.
Let me just give you some another intuition pump. Maybe that'll help. Remember Winona Ryder, the famous movie star who got caught?
Yes, who stole? Yeah.
Why did she shoplift if she was rich? She could have just bought that.
Yeah, I think it's for the rush, maybe.
Oh,
right.
Okay, so let me ask here. Okay, next question. Do you think that a rapist gets a rush?
You could, you definitely.
Now, are you agnostic? Are you agnostic about it when you say he could, or?
Okay, now Tom is actually starting to do the street epistemology thing. Lean yes, lean no.
Because I think absolutely, yeah, a rapist is getting a rush from it, right? Are you agnostic about that?
No.
Okay.
I think he might lean towards that they do.
Okay, so is it possible that a
yes, whenever you ask, is it possible? I'll answer yes.
Okay, so why don't you think that's possible in the case of Trump?
Never said it wasn't. What I'm saying is that.
Okay. So they have effectively dismantled his original claim. Doug still believes that the primary motivator for sexual assault is horniness. There could be people. He leans that there are people that would pursue these kinds of assault for kicks, for the thrill of it, like Winona Ryder doing some shoplifting just to get a little bit of a thrill. But the follow-up question would need to be, okay, I would ask him one of his questions. What percent of people who are willing to commit sexual assault, what percentage of them do you think are motivated by horniness versus a desire for the thrill of victimizing someone, taking advantage of someone? What's the percentage breakdown? 90% to 10, 80 to 20? What is it?
It's what you're describing with the Winona Ryder case is very rare. I think if someone is, I think horny is a better explanation than the rush.
Why? But he thinks it's a better explanation, but it isn't the explanation. Why is he trying to intuit his way through something that he can look up and determine is in fact not the case? Law enforcement knows this. Psychological associations know this. Psychiatrists know this. It is a myth to attribute pent up lust as a motivator for SA. That is a myth. I can't emphasize it enough. There's no reason for him to do this other than to say he's just sort of feeling his way through it and is just intuiting it, and that just seems right to him. Cool, but it's not, and he doesn't need to waste his energy doing that. He can look up and see, like, okay, based on people who have dealt with people who commit these crimes, what has their experience shown them? It's not caused by some pent-up lust. It's caused by a desire to harm others. That is the principal cause. The British woman Hermione is making a lot of sense in Wrecking PineCreek. She hates it when you call her Hermione. I think I did that once. Oh, is Michael here? Take your boy back to Canada. We don't want him. Michael's not going to take him back. You think he wants to be blamed for that? Yeah, Michael says that rape isn't about sex as much as it is control. This is well documented. Exactly. It's very well documented. And Doug doesn't even have to go. He doesn't have to go to the talk type people. He doesn't have to go to the sociologists. He doesn't have to go to the shrinks. He doesn't have to go to the therapist or the social workers or the child protective services. He can go straight to cops. He can go to cops, red-blooded, Republican voting law enforcement officers, and they'll be like, yeah, no, it's not that, it's this. I'm not sure why he's wasting his time with this. He's like, at this point, he's just galloping through some ignorance here in front of this group of people, and I think he thinks he's owning them. I think he believes he's educating them. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, folks. I'm trying to teach you libs what's going on. Doug, need a white knight.
Horny is a better.
Horny is a better explanation.
Well,
Tom's
I mean,
wait.
Because they're horny.
There's a little bit of
Yeah.
overlap there.
Yeah, there can be.
What
They
explains?
Can be.
for this.
Look, sexual desire is going to probably be necessary in order for a component of that crime, but it is not the motivator for it. That is what a lot of the literature says. Experience from shrinks. Pardon me for using that dismissive comment. The literature from social workers, the literature from law enforcement. Right? Part of it's there. There's a component in there. But it is not the this idea that, like, well, I've just got so much pent up lust, I've got to find an outlet right now. And that's going to result in me blowing up and committing a crime. Nope. Myth. That's a myth.
Sex or horny for the rape?
What
Because
explains
our
me
guys are
not?
horny but couldn't get
That's
her up
right.
if they were raping someone. That would be a turnoff for them because the girl's not into it.
What explains me not raping somebody when I'm horny?
You're too poor. Oh no! Wait a minute. No. You should be raping because you are very
Right.
poor. You should
That's
be the
right.
biggest.
I'm like
rapist.
destitute. Exactly. Horny.
I don't know. You have to ask PineCreek.
Can't buy a prostitute.
Can you be horny if you're dead
You're
inside?
really
Buying a
horny.
Good question.
prostitute in this economy?
I think we're recognizing another thing that you and John Lee have in common, Doug, and that's cognitive decline.
Damn.
It's
just
not. It
mean.
doesn't look good at all, Doug.
Okay.
Now, PineCreek, could this be a YouTube short?
Pardon me?
Could this be a YouTube short?
What be?
You talking about, like, rich people probably won't rape.
Jesus. This is just unforgiving punishment. Holy crap. So I have to give this entire group of people props for essentially putting Doug in a position where he's he kind of sounds like Matt Slick here. This is brutal to watch.
Well, you disagree with that?
I don't rule people. I don't rule people from being rapists because they're rich.
I don't either. But let's be very honest, Tom.
Okay.
Are the majority of men rapists?
No.
No. Are the
Oh.
majority of rich men rapists?
No.
The majority of people aren't rapists, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So now
that's
the
irrelevant
default.
then.
So now the default position is men. The probability of a random man raping is below 50%. Correct?
Why is he selecting that?
I mean, that's the
default
prior, right?
Yeah, exactly. Jeff. This is exactly what I'm getting at. The prior probability. No, I'm just making it
Do you
clear.
think Trump's priors are like all else equal with like the average?
Aaron Reese, yeah. I assume someone had pointed out to him that rape and sexual assault are not about sex, but about control. I mean, many people did say that sometime, and after his initial thing about how when people caught on to the implication that when he's trying to say rich people don't have to do this because they can buy women or they can pay for sex or whatever the sentiment was. They're just like, okay. So this was attempted. If not directly, then at least indirectly. Yeah, he's still not getting it because even after this idea of the example that Tom gave of Winona Ryder shoplifting just for the giggles, Doug conceded that that's a possibility, and now they seem to be back to nowhere with him. Let's see here. Are the majority of Haitians into eating cats and dogs, Doug? But there is that 1%, right, Doug? Yeah. Let's not talk about that crap math.
Average person? Because we know the type of person he is.
That's a great question. That's a great SC question.
Yeah, it is.
So given that the priors are that men don't rape, not to say that
given Trump's priors, do we think that given what he said, given Trump's priors, are you with me? Yes or no?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yep.
Do you think it's likely or less or not likely that he would rape someone?
Less likely. And here's why.
By the pussy.
Less likely. Okay. So he's moved on to a different thing where this is even worse than before, right? Because before, when they were talking about the Trump E. Jean Carroll standoff in court, he was trying to basically make it about a he said, she said thing. That was the point I made before. When you've already got an adjudicated civil case, right? They've ruled against him. Now he seems to be saying like, well, wait a minute. If we just zoom out and take a look at the total out of all people, out of the total population, what are the percentage of people that are sex offenders or sexual assaulters? Okay. Now, out of that, what's the likelihood that Trump is one of them? Well, if he's committed it, it's now 100%. He's admitted to sexually assaulting women. So I'm not and it's been adjudicated against him that he sexually assaulted E. Jean Carroll. It has been established in a court of law that he is that person. Doug just doesn't want to accept that. He's just denying that as a thing. Which, okay, if you want to say you disagree with the jury, you disagree with the judge, you disagree with the entire court case, that's fine. Don't tell people that the issue is simply, I just think that E. Jean Carroll is a liar. It's more than that, Doug. You think that the entire case is bogus. The jury's decision is bogus, not only on the assault, but also the defamation too. Right? Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he splits the difference. Oh yeah, well, he was defaming her, but he never assaulted her. Okay. I don't think that's true. I think he's probably inclined to say that she's lying about both. If she's lying about the one, then he was correct when he said that she was doing that. So he never defamed her. Well, the jury found that he was. It's unbelievable.
the behavior.
No.
But
The
that's
aggression.
Here's what.
evidence.
Do you want to
That's
hear
not
my
prior.
explanation or not?
Yes.
Okay, so my explanation for why a person like Trump, and Trump included, would be a lower likelihood of rape is because he's rich and famous. He doesn't.
You know his wife?
Why would that do it?
Accused him of raping him.
She
Let's
described
just
the whole
distinguish
thing in
two
the
things.
book.
Look, let's just distinguish two things.
Let-
There's
let
the
him
prior
finish
on
the-
someone being.
Does anybody disagree with
What?
what I just said?
Yes.
Just,
I
could
agree
you
with
start
you
over,
that
please?
Yeah.
To
So
be honest, there's a lot of people that interrupted you, Doug.
yeah, I know.
Right.
That's everybody wants my attention. So the like.
Amy keeping it so he can go straight to hell. I mean, I would appreciate if he would just go straight, like straight to a book. Crack open a book, go straight to the library, do some reading. Stop looking at screens.
The prior probability of a random man raping is low. How low, nobody knows. And I'm saying that a rich, famous person is even lower because they're rich and famous, and they.
What is his evidence for this? Dayton's right here. He's Doug trying a fucking Bayesian argument for whether Trump is more or less likely to R-word. I mean, this is just unbelievably dumb. Thank you for this reminder, John. I take this as Doug has taken this position and he's far too chicken shit to change it. Yeah, I mean, I really do think that is like he's defending a tough spot here, and he's not going to back down, at least not in front of this group. He's not going to be owned by the woke leftists.
They don't need to rape.
Virtue is famously attached to wealth and
they don't need. Okay, if you have the ability to meet more people and you have the ability to cover up some of these crimes, wouldn't that make it more likely? I mean, if you're in, see, there's a problem here. If they're rich and they're famous, they can get their rocks off whenever they want. So somebody has to remind Doug that's not the motivation for sexual assault. You need to just cut that out. Stop thinking like that. That's not the motivation. If you're wealthy and famous and you are inclined to sexual assault, independent of your horniness, you can get those needs taken care of. But you've got some rarefied needs and you're wealthy. Well, now you can take steps to go after some of these people and you can cover your traces a little bit. What have we seen from a lot of these situations? That these powerful, wealthy men do precisely that. Weinstein did the same thing. Quid pro quo agreements, or after, before or after the sexual assault. The same thing with Trump taking advantage of young women and in various circumstances, like his beauty pageants and other things that he was involved in, and just being a creep. So I don't understand like his idea is based on this fundamental misunderstanding that, well, they're wealthy, so they can easily get their needs taken care of. They don't need to commit this crime that is motivated by pent-up lust. He's still wrong there. The motivation for that crime is not pent-up lust. It's something much darker and much weirder. And if they're wealthy and powerful, they might be more inclined to engage in it because they can get away with it. Or they believe that they're above the law, they can sidestep it, they can pay for secrecy, etc. Thank you very much for the super chat from Turing Test. He writes something for the tip jar. Thank you very much. He's dug in. Given he's a known sex pest, Doug thinks it's less likely. I mean, this is amazing. It's less likely that Trump has done this, even though a jury found him liable for doing precisely that. he's going to tell people, no, he's wealthy so he can get his needs taken care of. And there's this woman out there that said that he didn't, that he did this horrible thing. No, there's been a court case about it. So Doug just needs to go after the court case, not try to play this off as if E. Jean Carroll is over here hollering into the whirlwind about how she was brutalized by this man. There's nothing to see there, folks. No reason to pay attention to her. Well, she's already had her day in court and she's won multiple times. So I don't know how Doug explains that away, but the only thing he could do is explain it away. Trump is too creepy, too greasy to get laid, and too insecure to be any kind of real dom. What he did to Stormy Daniels was horrific, and she was a consenting commercial entity. Well, there was the Karen McDougal relationship as well. Let's see here. If someone is wealthy and powerful and has been effectively raised to believe they can act with impunity, why wouldn't they disregard other people's rights when they get horny? Right. So this kind of goes against even Doug's own logic. If the motivation is just pent-up horniness and you have lots of money, you could take advantage of somebody and engage in non-consensual sex or sexual assault, and just try to pay them off or make it go away. Why wouldn't you disregard that as necklaces? Why not? Now, if you try to do the harder work of trying to convince Doug, like, look, that's not it. It ain't. It's not horniness that's doing this. But even if you don't, like, this ain't lining up great for him. It is less likely that Trump would rape because he's rich and very few men are rapists. But if 1% of migrant Haitians could possibly eat cats and dogs, then deport them all. Yeah. All 20,000 have to go. Or actually, no, not just the 20,000 in Springfield. All of them, coast to coast, border to border.
Fame.
Actually, the opposite.
No,
to
I'm not
that
talking about
is
virtue.
that
I'm talking about
a rich guy is more likely to get away with rape than a poor guy.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that, but I would still say that what I said is reasonable and true. Like, take it off Trump. Take it off Trump for a second, and you can easily see it. Think of a rich, famous musician.
Diddy. R. Kelly.
Yeah, they get
Do you think?
groupies. Yeah.
Right. Do you think that they are more or less likely than the average person to rape?
I think that I don't agree with your premise that people rape because they're horny. I don't agree with that.
And she's right.
Okay, but that's not the question I just asked.
Because they get off from raping people.
Raping
But
makes
if you-
them horny.
The rape
But
is
if you-
what makes them horny.
It's
It's not just
yeah.
that they're, oh, I'm horny, so ideally, I'd have a girlfriend. Second best thing, I'll get a prostitute. Third option, I'll find some woman and rape her. That's just not how that goes, right? So that I just think your entire premise is completely false.
Do you disagree with that? What I just said, and again, if you
I
take
just
it off
told you
Trump,
I
I think
did. I said
Okay,
men
what-
don't rape because they're horny for sex. They rape because they get off from the rape. They are predators. That's what they like to do.
I am talking about the rich and famous part right now.
Or I'm talking about the reason people rape, whether they're rich or poor.
Okay.
He
It's so
heard nothing.
difficult to
Yeah,
talk.
Why?
It's not really.
It's not difficult for Doug to talk. It is very difficult for him to listen and comprehend when Haiti is trying to make a point, because this was the most important point that came out as a result of Tom asking that question when they got to this point. And Haiti is now drilling it into him at this point. Like, I fundamentally disagree with your idea, with the notion that is the motivator for sexual assault, pent up lust, horniness. That's not it. And Doug is like, no, you're not paying attention to what I'm talking about. I'm trying to talk about like whether or not wealthy people would do this. Like, we fundamentally disagree on what motivates a person who is a sexual assaulter. And you're trying to describe, you're trying to make some weird apologetic about why wealthy people wouldn't do it. We don't even agree about why they would do it. I don't understand why Doug can't like settle down and go back into this.
I'm just
think this is
forthrightly
like a really
disagreeing with your claim. What's the problem? You're
Do you
claiming
guys-
men rape because they're horny for sex. I'm
Haiti,
saying no. What?
you're not responding to what I just said. I'm going to ask an SE question with your permission. The question is,
You're not responding to what I said.
that's because you're not responding to what I said.
No, I am responding. You made a claim. You said, here's the deal. People rape because they're horny, and a rich guy who's horny can get sex. Yes, you did.
I said that earlier, but what I'm talking about right now, Haiti, please be honest.
It?
Can someone remind Haiti what I just said?
Yeah, this is Doug being pointless. This is pointless. Like, he's not acknowledging the point that she's making. In fact, if I'm like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. No, we haven't. They have not actually gotten through to him on this. Like, it is not the case that pent up lust is the motivator for sexual assault. It is not. Yeah, I'm waiting for Doug to say I'm quite wealthy and I haven't raped anyone. Yeah, I think he stopped short of saying this. Yeah.
I took it off Trump and I said about a musician, and I think you went to the horniness part because you knew I was making a good point.
No, look, if that musician gets off on raping women, he will rape women no matter how rich he is.
Listen.
Why is Doug accusing her of trying to derail it? She's trying to get back to the core assumption that he is making about sexual assault to begin with. These wealthy guys won't do that because they have the resources to get their rocks off. No, that's presupposing that the motivation for this crime is pent up lust. That is fundamentally misguided. That is a myth. And he's just not getting the fact that that's where she's going with this.
How many groupies he will get?
Okay, so I'm going to say it again, and all you have to do is say agree or disagree, just for the record, okay?
Trap. That's a trap. Shades 88. How can you watch this, Jefferson? There's something fundamentally wrong with me. If PineCreek wants to debate, I'll debate him. I think he should. Yeah. And I mean, I guess it depends on where you're coming from. He may not be willing to do that.
I'm saying is that someone who's very rich and famous, who has groupies, as you said, is more likely not to rape because he doesn't need to.
Need to. Nothing's getting through. Nothing's working.
Disagree.
Okay, so you disagree. Does anybody else disagree?
Wait, I'm just looking at the empirics here. So
yes, fundamentally disagree. That's not the point.
I got a survey from criminal defense attorneys.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
That represent, and they're saying the majority of their defendants are men that are educated and middle or upper class.
Oh,
that makes sense. Okay, read that again.
Educated and middle or upper class, which includes Trump.
No, read the part just before that.
What do you mean? What did I not include?
What you said.
Something.
Just read the whole thing.
He said
majority.
Yeah. So why do you think that could be? One explanation is that they actually rape. Another explanation would be what?
Women are accusing them of crimes to get at their money. That's what Doug's going to do.
They can afford lawyers. I don't know, Doug.
No,
on, guys, you know what's coming.
Why would a rich and famous person be accused of rape more often? Let's say
it's not it. The people that have committed the crime, the statistics that this person said that they brought up is that the perpetrators of sexual assault are middle to upper class and more educated than average. And Doug is running with, These wealthy, successful men are accused of rape more. This is the point he's going to make. They're accused of the crime more in order to get their money. That's going to be his next disgusting play.
Say then
We're not
someone
talking
who
about rich
He
and
didn't
famous.
say they were famous or rich. He said they were middle or upper
Okay,
class.
sorry.
Didn't say
Okay.
about whether they were
Why-
famous.
Why would a middle or upper class person be more accused of rape than say a lower?
You should probably
person.
make the point instead of asking the question.
Oh, bit of
Okay,
I
SE
think
there,
I'll just
right?
people. Yeah.
I'll just come out and say it then, because there's more of a vested. You can make more money.
Right.
You can make more
Or
money.
there's like
Wait, who's gonna make more money?
A woman.
Yeah.
The statistic wasn't on who was accused of committing sexual assault. The statistic was on the number who were convicted. I believe that was the statistic said, not the ones accused of committing the crime. Those that had actually perpetrated the crime and had been convicted of it were middle to upper class and better educated than average. And he's trying to pivot this into something. Aha! You see what's going on here. This is a group of men that are targeted by these gold-digging women who want to play victim. This is part of Doug's imaginary world, right? Where the women are going to make these accusations because they want people to feel sorry for them and then give them money.
But how are you
Sending
gonna
him to
show-
jail?
How are you going to show that that's the reason?
How is a woman gonna make money?
Not civil defendants.
Well,
criminal.
Because criminal is one aspect, but also is civil.
How are they going to pursue a civil case with no evidence, Doug? And what are you going to get out of somebody who's middle to upper class? This is an interesting definition to be made from somebody who originally had kind of implicitly dismissed the existence of middle and upper class individuals. It was just rich and then poor. Okay. But then again, when they were like, okay, well, why do you think these rich people are being accused of it? Oh, so people can chisel them out of their money. Okay, then where did the statistic come from that guy that indicated that the majority of people who commit these kinds of crimes are middle to upper class middle to upper class men of higher intelligence, not super rich and not celebrities? That's not the part. Nor are they simply the group that's being accused of the crime. Nor is it the group that's being shown as being statistically dragged into court, civil or criminal, in order so that the women can get some kind of cash settlement out of them. He is making this crap up in his head. This is not a legitimate case to be made here. And this all started off with the fact that he could not really make a substantive defense of the fact of why he does not believe E. Jean Carroll. He just doesn't want to. And anytime it's brought up, he just wants to make the case that, oh, well, imply that it's just he said, she said. Oh, I don't believe her. I think she's lying. Okay, great. Now let's talk about the court case, the decision, the jurors that are convinced that he did this and defamed her. What the fuck you doing, Doug? I agree. He is really dishonest. Canada, stop sending us your worst. Yeah, his question has the premise that you rape because you can't get a woman and you are horny. Exactly. So I was saying I won't answer. Right. The premise of the question, like, okay, yes or no, this is what I would answer the question. No. That isn't it. Primarily, that is not it. That is a wrong-headed way of thinking about that. Could there be a situation where somebody who commits sexual assault was so overloaded with feelings and they were a little bit goofy and they're pent up and they've got the lust and whatever, and then they force themselves onto somebody? Maybe. But the vast majority, the motivation behind this stuff is based on a desire for power and control and a desire to victimize the person that they're attacking. It's based on cruelty. It's a mean-spirited motivation. It is not based on pent-up lust. we accept zero responsibility for Doug. That's fair. I mean, he's been here long enough. America has had its way with him. Between that and our social media, I mean, we wrecked him. You know. The real question is whether Doug has a problem voting for someone who's been convicted of sexual assault and suspected of rape. Well, that's the trick, though, right? Because he basically has come out on the side of discounting the weight of a civil decision, right? The next step is and even a criminal one, right? The fact that he was convicted of 34 felonies at the state level by New York court, that's a criminal conviction. I don't care. He didn't shoplift and he didn't cross a border illegally, so I'll vote for him. And then in a civil case, the jury finds him liable for defamation and sexual assault. And whatever, that's a he said, she said. So Doug's values are he only cares about law and order when it's applied unequally to people that he dislikes versus the people that he likes. And so far, actually, Trump has been able to get away with an enormous amount, even though he did get convicted of 34 felonies and was held liable for the defamation and the sexual assault.
So
How
you
much
just
money did
assuming
Eugene Carroll
That's
get?
just your
Do
intuition.
you think the
or did
low
you
class
have
Wasn't
are really
lying,
likely to
Go,
have the
go back to that
resources
report
to-
real quick. Was that talking about a prosecution's office?
Do you think the lower class are the ones that are going to be likely to have the
Yes, it
resources
was.
to pursue like these types of lawsuits? Or do you think it'd be the type of woman who maybe hangs out with well-off men?
Nicola, American, ask yourself, why is our country so attractive to these people? Oh, I don't have to ask myself that question. I know exactly why we are. This place is basically Thunderdome. We attract some crazies.
What? Sorry, Tom, I'm not following
you think that talking about the people that are accusing people of rape, I think. But you think that the majority of these,
No,
or some significant number, are false accusations because they're thinking ahead to after they're convicted criminally, then they can go on to get some civil settlement and money out of it?
I think you'd be naive. Well, I would say
Is
that
that what you're implying?
I'm not applying a specific
Or
number, but
I'm not implying a specific number, but I am saying that there's a great deal of this. There is some kind of amount happening here where they're just trying. Like he got immediately excited at the statistics shared by that individual where that indicated that the people that are perpetrating this are middle class and upper middle class men of greater than average education. Aha! Well, that goes along with my favorite narrative. Women be lying.
what I am implying that it's more likely, yes.
It's more
likely than what? More likely than we know, more likely than reported, more likely than the actual rate of attacks on women. And given the fact that the estimate from law enforcement is something like only like what? 2% actually get reported?
likely. Jesus.
Can we get back to the thing I was saying to Doug, which he didn't really respond to? You said a musician, because he can get groupies, is more likely to not rape, right? And I said the thing that they get off on is the rape. Do you disagree?
No, I think
No.
that can and does happen. Yes.
Can and does. Okay, but according to law enforcement, it's the primary motivator for sexual assaulters.
Okay, so then your argument doesn't make any sense, does it?
We're talking about improbabilities here. So imagine
No. Jesus. No, you're not. In order to talk probabilities, you'd have to be able to determine like actual terms here. And at this point, Doug has just been all over the place. Like you'd need to actually settle on some real, like some actual groups that aren't just like some amorphous categories that he can like kind of, shift and blend.
A famous musician with a bunch of groupies.
Okay, so now he's going back to the, well, this guy's got a bunch of groupies, so he's got a harem here, so sexual needs are taken care of. He doesn't need to commit sexual assault. Incorrect.
Imagine a guy, a couple guys in a room with 40 women or whatever, and the musician approaches a woman and basically makes it clear that they want to have sex, and the woman says no. And he goes, all he has to do is turn his head at 5 degrees, and there's another one.
That's not the reason. He could have sex with all 40 of them and still not feel fulfilled because he didn't rape one. Doug is not getting it. Holy shit.
Yeah, if his goal was consensual sex, sure.
Right. So
he's not. Rapists are not people who fail to hook up. This is profoundly immature and cripplingly ignorant of Doug. Like, this is beyond him just hanging on to a myth. This is profoundly stupid. They are not guys that just can't get their game on. They're not looking to hook up with a woman. They're not looking for that.
Now, if what you're saying, Haiti, though, is if you're doing it for the rush and for the power or whatever, does that happen? Yes. But I'm saying the probability-wise, those types of men are lower.
According to what? According to what? When psychologists, psychiatrists, and law enforcement professionals and sociologists say that the vast majority of the people who commit these crimes are not motivated by lust, but motivated by a darker, more mean-spirited impulse to harm another person. On what grounds, what data is Doug using to say, oh, I just don't think that that's the case? Those are some weird outlier. The vast majority of people that are doing this stuff, they're just looking to get their swerve on. Nope. No. That's not what the research shows. That's not what the criminal statistics show. That's not what the experts have documented and written about and researched. It's just not, that is just not it. Doug is just talking out of his ass and pretending like, well, you know what? I'm online quite a bit, so I know what I'm talking about. Not in this situation. He just flat out does not. Michael says approximately 6% of rape is reported in Canada. Sad. Yeah, that's the. I think the statistic in the United States is somewhere probably around that too. Actually, I think it's lower. They believe. Of the ones that actually get reported.
Than the ones who do it purely for the rush.
Okay. Now he's figured out something bad. They've given him something and now he's running with something else. So there's two motivations: pent up lust and then thrill. Both sex always is kind of a thrill, unless it's really, really bad, or unless it's part of a component of a crime, like the stuff that we're talking about, and you're the victim of it. It's not simply they're doing it for the thrill. They're doing it because it hurts somebody. That is the thrill.
My understanding is that men that believe they can have anything take rejection less well. So it could be like that's where the power thing winds up coming in. Is that if there's somebody that rejects them, then I think, well, they didn't have the right to reject me because everybody wants me, right?
Yeah, and Doug, don't you think some people want us? Do you think it's a thing that men sometimes want to fuck a specific woman?
Is it a thing? I'm sure it happens. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Myra, this is why people think Doug is LARPing. Hard to believe anyone is this dense. I mean, it really is interesting to me. This entire conversation. I mean, from beginning to end, really. Like most of the main points that he's made have been just like astonishingly stupid.
Yeah, I'm sure it happens too, right? So it's not always the case. Just like, well, I'm like obsessed with this one really pretty girl, but she rejected me. Therefore, I'll just like have sex with this other girl. Same. You know that's not always the case, right?
Of course.
Okay, so now you know a motivation as to why someone in the position you described might
I'm not saying
just
that
turn his head and fuck another girl, right?
I understand, Tom. I'm talking about probabilities here.
What probability? He can't even get the motivation correct for the group he's talking about. You can't. He's not talking about sex offenders. He's not talking about people who commit sexual assault. He's just talking about horny men. He's categorically wrong about this. I'll use that against him there. He is completely off the wrong path here. So if I'm like, I just want to talk about the probabilities here. The probability is what Doug would need to show is that one category of guys go from being really, really horny, become frustrated, then become criminal. That's the myth. And that's the part that's not substantiated by research and history. That's not it. So he can sit there with this group and be like, oh, well, I'm just saying it's about probability. You guys just don't understand. I'm trying to do the math here. I'm in math zone. And you don't understand. My galaxy brain is crunching numbers like a quantum computer over this thing. Like, no, it's not. You don't understand the basic distinction between horny incels and sex offenders. Like the reason that these people are doing this stuff is not because they're sexually frustrated. I mean, you could have an overlap where some level of sexual frustration is a component for some of these individuals, but that's not their principal motivation for pursuing the crime of sexual assault. It's the thrill of abusing another person.
I'm not saying it never ever happens, and what the other guy said makes total sense to me. That people with power are more likely to not take rejection as well. I get that.
I don't even think it.
But Doug is willing to agree that all Haitians in the U.S. should be deported based on his 1% chance of them eating cats and dogs. Yes, it's all about probabilities, Jay. It's all about those probabilities.
It's that. I think it's that they get off from raping. It's not that they just can't get sex any other way. It's that's what gets them off.
I don't think that the point that I made is the core issue either, but I think that it combats Doug's point.
But I don't. No, I think the point is that Doug's just saying it's just a question of like resources. It's like, well, if I can't afford this iPhone, I'll just steal it. So why would a rich guy want to rape anyone? You could just buy the woman.
Yeah, absolutely nothing Doug is forwarding is supported by anyone in the care field or law enforcement. Yeah. This is, I mean, that is basically disqualifying it, from the jump here. Any appeal he's trying to make to be, I'm like, oh, I'm just appealing to probability. I'm appealing to statistics. I'm appealing to what are the chances? What are the odds? Like, no, you're talking about a separate group of people. You're wrong from the start on this. Your presuppositions are bad. But he's a conservative, and they don't seem interested in actually determining the probabilities, only claiming them. That's another good point. I wish Doug were the skeptical over all the shit Trump farts out his mouth. Yeah, indeed.
But that's not why people rape. That's what I'm saying. And this data shows that it's not like loads of men are raping. It's that quite a few men are raping, but they're doing it an awful lot. They're doing most of the rapes. They might rape like 20 people because that's what they like. It's not just that they can't get sex.
But isn't this, I don't understand, isn't this all speculation? Like, it's an empirical question, right? Or is that not what you guys are discussing? I thought the idea was, is it the case that rich men rape at the same rate as men of other income brackets? And I thought what was being offered was a reason to think that it's likely that they do not, right? But that's just speculation, right? Like,
Yeah. So I think this is Jack. He's making a good point here. Like, you're just speculating about what these groups are doing at this point. There was an internal report where I work. Incels are universally known as angry, not aggressive. They're pissed and they just whack off.
you could just, I mean, maybe there
No,
aren't
the reason he's saying that is based on a faulty premise, which is that men rape because they're horny for sex.
Yeah, but
I don't think any of this matters, right? Like, look, say the prior on a rich person raping is slightly lower than a poor person. Like, it's completely irrelevant. The reason to believe Trump is a rapist isn't because there's some like the prior is slightly higher than 1% or something. The reason is because of the evidence. That was the topic. Now we're like stuck on this bullshit. It's like don't really.
Yeah, he's right. Because and Doug has successfully kind of moved the conversation into something where he is trying to make this kind of BS Bayesian argument, like, well, what is the probability of rich people doing this versus what middle class people, upper middle class people, like, and what income class are we talking about? Where like, oh, these are the ones that are going to get accused of this because women are going to want their money. Okay. First of all, 6 to 11% of rape victims are men, so it's a little bit weird that Doug is just kind of fixated in the fact that the vast majority are women, but there is that distinction that needs to be made. But also, the idea that what he's pointing out here, the evidence that was presented in the E. Jean Carroll case is the stuff that Doug is completely discounting. And then not only that evidence, whatever is in that particular case, but also additional evidence of things that Trump has said in the past and things that he's saying, the things that he continues to say. So you just have to disregard all of it. But even if you're like, okay, you know what, we'll say hands off any of the other stuff surrounding any of his other stuff. We won't talk about his comments about grabbing women. We won't talk about the allegations that have been made about him groping women or making lewd comments or any of this other kind of stuff involved with a lot of other women who have come forward about this stuff. Just the stuff in the E. Jean Carroll civil trial should be enough to give somebody like Doug pause. So if you ask him, like, okay, it's been adjudicated in a civil trial that this guy is a sexual offender and he has committed defamation against a woman. He was the president of the United States, and this is something he did to another U.S. citizen. How do you feel about that? Doug's reaction? She's a liar. That doesn't get it done.
Change the overall probability of the
You keep cutting out. I don't know what the fuck's going on. You need to fix it.
Okay, I don't know whether Sasha's agreeing or disagreeing with me, but look, is there data that is reliable that shows how often people of different income levels rape?
The only data
Why
that
not
was
just
provided
go
was
to
the
that?
defendants from the prosecution.
Well, Pete provided some, and Pete provided some, and Doug said they must be lying because they want the money off the rich guys, and that's why they accuse them of rape.
No, I said that it's more likely that wealthy men have to defend themselves. Never talked about the lying part.
No, you didn't. You said, well, of course, the assumption is they're lying because they want to get the money from the civil suit, right? Not that the men are, in fact, more likely to be rapists.
I was explaining why upper middle class are more likely to be in that situation. Yeah.
Right, which seemed to be a misunderstanding of what the individual had presented, which wasn't men who are accused of those crimes, but men who are convicted of those crimes. So I don't think Doug was paying attention there. But I don't want to go over that again.
Assuming they're innocent, right?
You mean accused of rape?
It means there's a selection effect, right? That's what he means. Am I still cutting out?
No, you're better now.
Oh, so you're not saying they're innocent now. You are saying they are, in fact, rapists.
That's true.
Before trial, they are innocent.
he's saying it's not a good proxy for telling who's more likely to rape, because for the rich people there is a selection effect. It's gonna put them more often in the study.
So what would be a good data for you? Would you accept any data?
Uh-oh.
Is that a question?
Yeah. What?
Yes.
Would you accept any data?
What is that question? Would I accept any data for rape?
Well, they wouldn't
Yes.
accept data. What would you accept?
Well, yeah, it's a fair. I don't know why this is just him being kind of. I think he's being disingenuous here. I don't know how much he knows about the E. Jean Carroll civil case, but given the way this conversation started, he has disregarded any data from that case and settled on the fact that he just believes that E. Jean Carroll is a liar. So clearly testimony is not going to work. Photographic evidence that indicates that the defendant in the case is lying, that had no effect on him.
That would convince you that rich men are as likely to rape as poor men, let's say. What data would you accept?
Well, let's say you collect the data of, let's say, 1,000 men who have been convicted of rape, and then look at how much money they make.
Oh, so convicted rapists.
That would be really bad. That would be really bad too, because then there is the selection effect the other way around, where rich men can afford better lawyers. So that would be terrible. But also, the main.
How else would you do it?
Well, it might just be that we can't do it. But I think we can. Before that, I just think all of this is. Yeah, I'll get to that maybe. But before that, I just want to say, I think all of this is completely irrelevant to the main point this was in service of, which is, do we have evidence Trump is a rapist? It's like, okay, say that rich men have a slightly lower prior, like, half the prior on a poor person raping. That won't matter that much to the overall probability. It's like, it just doesn't matter that much. Like, the reason to believe Trump is a rapist isn't because there's a very high prior that someone in his reference class raped somebody. It's because of the evidence.
Right. I agree.
Okay. But does Doug agree that he has effectively dismissed all of the evidence in that civil case and distilled it to he just thinks that
I just don't think the evidence is sufficient for the claim.
But the only explanation he gave was that he just thinks she's a liar.
But did this discussion start about Trump? I thought. I mean,
yes.
I guess.
Yes, he was saying that there is no evidence that Trump is a rapist.
No, it started with something else.
I mean, a rapist. Sorry, that he raped E. Jean Carroll, right? So I cited.
Michael says, also Doug's idea that women want money is dumb. Look at how EJC has been persecuted by media, etc. The usual factor for not reporting rape is to avoid attention. Yeah, to avoid this kind of treatment in the media, to avoid getting dragged like this. Exactly. Whoa.
Evidence.
She was lying.
And his counterpoint was, okay, but given that he's rich, he would be less likely to rape, right? The prior would be lower because he could afford a prostitute. And I think that point is kind of stupid anyway. I just don't think it matters that much. Like, the prior on somebody being 6 foot tall is quite low. Nonetheless, when we see that, it's reported on Google that they are that, we don't really question that.
Hey guys, it's getting late for me.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Too late.
Well, I mean, he's in. Well, I think Tom Rabbit's in Pacific time too. So some of these people are on the East Coast, so it's much later for
it's
them.
like it's one thing whether he's a rapist for this specific case. The question of whether he's a rapist in general, I think you should have a very, very high credence in, just given the amount of accusations.
You've
and his testimony.
Yeah, I disagree. I disagree with that too, Jack, because of the selection effect you talked about. Like, you would expect.
We're all very disappointed in you, Doug.
You would expect more. accusations for certain people in power positions and wealth and
that doesn't matter. Jesus, he just completely missed what he was saying. I think that's Sasha there that was doing the speaking. That's precisely his point. Doug is trying to say, well, because there's a chance that because these wealthy people get accused of this by people who are just looking to chisel them out of money, there's a higher probability that's does it follow that Trump in his particular circumstances is more likely to be innocent because people in his income bracket stand a higher chance of possibly being falsely accused for these crimes because of their wealth? That does not follow. It could happen to him, yes, but you're looking at the evidence for things that he's done. And if you're looking at the E. Jean Carroll case, like if the situation was something where, okay, well, she's doing this to go after him for money, then why didn't she bring this up a long time ago? Why not go after him criminally? Back when it happened, back when she told her friends about it. Why was she doing it now? She had just written a book. I believe she's wealthy on her own. And she knows Donald Trump. Do you know how you do not sue Donald Trump hoping for a quick payday from the guy? He notoriously cheats people and defaults on his bills. Like he won't pay. This flies against a lot of the evidence we know. Again, not about the group, not about wealthy people, not about rich guys that might get accused of these kinds of things because somebody's looking to score a payday. We're talking about Trump specifically. And this probably, I think this did start out with somebody asking Doug about whether or not that is how it was leaning at the beginning. Is he okay voting for someone like Trump who's got this kind of accusation, like he's got this on his record? There's not a rumor that he has sexually assaulted somebody. He was found civilly liable in a court of law in New York for being a sex pest, for sexually assaulting a woman and defaming her when she said something about it. He's a scumbag. Like, are you okay with voting for that kind of guy? Doug's answer unequivocally, yep. And all he's doing is tap dancing around the fact, well, yeah, I'm going to vote for this guy. And I can justify my vote because I just don't think he was actually guilty of that because she's worse. She's a liar. Based on what evidence? Women lie. That seems to be Doug's entire argument. He's rich and women lie about rich people raping him all the time to get a payday. Okay. Do you not understand that she is also a wealthy person? Doesn't matter. Okay. Do you understand there was an entire court case that adjudicated this and decided on her behalf, decided against him, found him liable? Lies and slander. Fake news.
And fame. But we already went through all that. What?
Yeah.
You can't hear me?
Trump said E. Jean Carroll wasn't even his type. Again, feeding into the myth that people like Doug have. The only reason someone would commit this kind of assault is because of pent-up lust for the person. I'm not even attracted to her. So how could I have the pent-up lust necessary to carry out this kind of attack? Because that's not the motivation for attacking them that way.
Yeah, he's talking. Can you hear him, Sasha?
Oh, do I have him blocked?
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I
think
had
you
to
might.
rejoin.
I didn't have you blocked. I don't know what happened there.
No,
Anyhow,
I think it's a Discord bug, but I don't know what's going on. Sorry.
Okay. Anyhow, I got to go. See you guys.
Yeah.
See ya.
You're disgusting. Good night.
You're disgusting. Good night. Nice parting shot from Haiti.
Would you have a problem voting for?
That's it. Okay. All right. Well, that was a long one, but I'm glad I went through it. I apologize again for the content of this one. It was offensive. It's all Doug's fault. Doug is pretty gross, and his opinions are ignorant and absurd and insanely stupid. Right. Conversely, saying if she was his type, exactly. This happens quite a bit. Doug gets super granular, gets schooled, agrees with the people he's arguing with on every point, but still doubles down on his initial argument. Yeah. We've dug too deep today. Yeah. And the things that lurk and the unseen evils, unnamed things. They should have let me handle him. Yeah, I think they should have. I think I don't know if they would have been. I mean, I gotta tell you, Haiti, I'm not trying to make excuses for anybody else in the room. I would have had trouble keeping my peace with some reacting to some of the things that he said. But yeah, I think you guys, like, if that happens again, I think, and I can't tell you guys how to run your room or do any of that kind of stuff. But if you guys call a shot, a shot player for that, like, all right, who's going after him? Who's gonna discuss this? Because I think you brought up really good points. I think Tom's question about the motivations for the crime, I thought that was key, right in the middle. And the fact that you went back and revisited that with him and really hammered it home, and he still just wouldn't, for whatever reason, would not. I mean, he that wasn't going to sink in. He wasn't going to let that sink in. I thought that was good. But I mean, even at the end, when I think that was Sasha at the very end was making that point about making that distinction between Trump versus some large group, and what did Doug come back to? The group that Trump's a part of. And I'm just concerned about probability. Like, no, you're not. What is the probability that a jury of 12 people got that completely wrong? What is the probability of that? That's what I want to know, because Doug is just completely brushing aside the fact that that civil case was decided against him. And he's just settled into an explanation of, I have no problem voting for Trump because his policies align with my values. And, oh yeah, E. Jean Carroll is just a liar. Like, well, her case is a little bit more than that. Just saying that's just a lie, that's not accurate, and it's not sufficient. So, yeah. If a man isn't there to give a woman's opinion, does he even exist? Awesome review of Pine Nuts. This rich don't need a grape. KZ Grape is so unbelievable. Shrinking Trump. Yeah. Good to see you, David. Let's see here. But what if there's that 1% probability the jury got it wrong? Yeah, exactly. Even just that 1%, like the 140 to 200 Haitians that are into voodoo, and for some strange reason, that follows that they eat other people's cats and dogs, which does not make sense at all. Yeah. All right, folks. I'm going to wrap it up there. Let's hide this thing. Yeah, I think this is working out okay. I'm not exactly sure. Like, this is supposed to be projecting in like 1080p. I don't think that it does. I think it's trying to, but yeah, we'll see. I don't have everything else hooked up into this. I don't have like a little out video to play, but I'll just get out of here. So everyone, like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you very much to everybody in the comments. I'm going to highlight this. Let's see. I don't have a channel. Find me PNR. Yes. Politics and Religion Discord server on Discord. Haiti Braun. She is over there. And also all the individuals that were over here, that particular room is over there. So if you're interested in joining that and going there, I think most everybody here probably has that. Let me post a link to the PNR. If I still have it, I'm on it. Do I still have it? Yes. there's that. If you're interested in it, a Discord link that goes right to the Politics and Religion channel if you're interested in going over there. So, yeah, have fun. Also, be careful. Politics and religion is a wild one. So, with that, yeah, it can be a cluster over there. Be warned. Tread with caution. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. If you got any suggestions for me, email me at jeffersonspatchcock@gmail.com. Again, everybody, thanks again for joining me. I will be back later, hopefully with a slightly shorter one. Special thanks again to Tom Rabbit for the video and to Haiti Braun for joining us in the live chat and commenting on this. I think she did great in this discussion. Yeah, if you do see her over on Politics and Religion, give her a shout. Tell her hello. All right, folks. See you later. Have a great one.